Good morning. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are delighted to have you here, both those attending in person and virtually. It is good to be together, a community of youth, adults, and children, sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. My name is Kristen, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors. For all the children and youth here today, we warmly welcome you and your whole family. We invite you to explore our Soulwork Center, where you can explore different activities designed to help people of all ages actively engage with today's worship service. To share a request for today's meditation, please place it in the chat box or add it to our meditation bowl, which is in the Soulwork Center, before the opening hymn. Please gain consent before you put someone's full name in the bowl. If you're looking for a structured time of connection, our small group conversations are still happening, both on Zoom and in the Emerson alcove. However you participate, those small groups are self-facilitated. The facilitation guidelines will be posted in the chat box at the end of the service, and they are also posted at the table in the alcove. Please grab whatever you need and then find your way there after the postlude. For a more informal time of community, cookies, and information about upcoming events and projects, please check out the social hall. We have also debuted an upcoming events flyer. Looks like this. Yes, thank you. Paper copies of the flyer are at the Welcome Center, and you can find a digital version on the website. Immediately after today's service, we will be having a listening session about the eighth principle. Please come share your perspective and listen to others. Mutual learning is the goal. Light refreshments are provided. And lastly, join us next week for the 2023-2024 Pledge Drive Kickoff. Sunday, as we welcome singer-songwriter and friend of WBUUC, Peter Mayer, back in our sanctuary in person for the first time in years. Peter will share the service with Reverend Roger, combining music, words, and reflections. You won't want to miss it. Also, watch your snail mail over the next week for your pledge card and materials. For those of you who don't receive a pledge card, you can stop by the pledge table in the atrium beginning next Sunday or contact the office. Pledging is a promise of partnership to each other, to the congregation, and its future, which is unfolding right now in a new and exciting way. Please join us. And now we have a special announcement from the search committee.
Good morning, I'm Clay Eccles. I use the pronouns he, him.
And I'm Deborah DeBrew, she, her.
And we are members of your search team, and things are getting exciting. So it's been a long process, and just to take a step back for a minute, a long 3 years, a crazy, wild 3 years. If you think about it, COVID, we went to virtual-only services. Then our longtime minister of 20 years departed. Then we had retirements of very strategic positions. Our choir director and our music directors both retired. Then we went back to in-person and dual meetings. We added technology to our beautiful sanctuary. Things have changed. If there's anything we have learned as UUers, is that the world changes. Fortunately, we've had the ever-capable Roger as our interim lead minister. And our wonderful staff who have helped lead us through this very difficult and challenging time. But interim lead minister means something. That means it's temporary. And Roger will be leaving us as soon as we finish our work. And I want to tell you where we want to share with you where we are today on that. We have been very busy. We heard from you all last fall what you were looking for in a lead minister. We took that and we went into the national search process, and we came back with a slew of very qualified candidates. Yes. And we went through all of their applications and resumes this January, and from that very extensive group, we found 6 very impressive candidates, and we interviewed each of those 6, reviewed them some more, talked to them, and from that, we got down to 3. And the best part of this is that we feel, your search committee feels that any one of these would be outstanding lead ministers for our congregation. So this is a great place to be, and we're very excited. But that's where we are right now, and we are in the process of looking at those 3 and discerning which will be the very best to bring to you. So here's what we're doing. We are spending an entire weekend with each of these 3 candidates, and we are attending their sermons in person, so we really get to know these folks. Then that's happening right now. And in April or May, we will come back to you with one finalist. And that person will then come and join us for a week and 2 Sunday sermons. And then after that, we will ask you to vote on whether that person should be your future permanent lead minister. And that we will ask you that in May. So that's right around the corner.
As Clay said, we're really confident that we have 3 excellent candidates, pre-candidates, and our last one will be outstanding. We're convinced of that. We're very confident in that. We want to just reiterate, we hope you understand that the process is still confidential for the sake of the candidates and to create a trusting relationship between our congregation and the finalist. But at all times in our meetings, we have you in the meeting with us. We're always asking, what does the congregation want? You can count on us with that. We promise that to you. If you have any questions about the process, you can go to the website and find the link there, or you can go to search@WBUUC.org, and the process will be elaborated there. Or you can see any one of us in the committee. There's a few people here, and we'll be walking around with glazed eyes and coffee in our hands. All right, thank you.
Well, that was exciting. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anybody other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him.
My name is Teal Bassett. My pronouns are she, her. When I was little, my family and I would frequent the Como Zoo. My baby sister was in her stroller, and my brother and I, still barely preschoolers, would excitedly wonder at the beautiful animals as my parents guided us through the maze of people. Stay close, hold my hand, the universal phrases of all parents at a crowded zoo. Primates were first, then we'd watch the seals. This was back before the beautiful new renovation of Seal Harbor, and the seals lived in a small habitat with a pool shaped like a ring, and they would slowly swim in circles around it. As you can imagine, this was absolutely enchanting for my little 3-year-old self. My parents made more universal phrases of those visiting the zoo. Do you see them? Wow, aren't they fun? Okay, let's keep moving. I had no time to absorb what it was that I was seeing, or if they were, in fact, fun. And I didn't keep moving. I kept watching the seals. The next thing I remember is that I turned around and my family was not there. I stood there curious. Now what? I wasn't panicked. I was curious. How should I solve this problem of finding my family? I saw a woman in a zoo uniform. Somewhere in my body, I must have remembered that I was taught that safe people wore uniforms. Or maybe I thought, this person I can trust because she is feeding the seals. I called out to her, I can't find my mom. Oh dear, I can help you find her. What is your name? What is your mom's name? I was young enough that I couldn't remember my mom's name. Of course, I was Teal, but what was my mom's name? She told me we would go to the office and we would call her over the speakers. I did start to panic then. I wanted to feed the seals. She walked with her arm around me in a gesture of comfort. I felt ready to face this conundrum of being lost because I had the help of this kind woman. Before we got too far, my mom came running up to us. Mommy, what is your name? We are going to call you. Let us light this chalice for trusting the wisdom deeply held within that allows us to innately know how to find our way and to allow space to enjoy the curious adventures of our journeys and for the bravery to ask for help.
I'm Reverend Jack, and my pronouns are he, him. Please join me in the opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn is Wake Now My Senses, number 298 in the gray hardback hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
Good morning. My name is Amy and my pronouns are she, her. And this morning's story is a story I find very relatable. Some of you might also, as we work to come to terms with maybe things that we see as our faults, but hopefully find communities that help us see beauty in all that we are. It's a story called The Water Bearer's Garden, and it's by Betsy Hill Williams and can be found in You and Me Collected Stories. A water bearer in India had 2 large pots, each hung from one end of a pole that he carried across his neck. Each day he would travel to the stream to fill both pots with water and then return home. But one of these pots had a crack in it. So at the end of the long walk from the stream to the house, the cracked pot arrived only half full, while the other pot always delivered a full portion of water. For 2 years, this went on daily, with the water bearer delivering only 1.5 pots of water to the house. Of course, the whole pot was proud of its accomplishments, perfect to the end for which it was made, but the poor cracked pot was a little ashamed of its own imperfection and miserable that it was only able to accomplish half of what it had been made to do. After 2 years of what it had perceived as bitter failure, it spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream. "I am ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you." "Why?" asked the water bearer. "What are you ashamed of?" "I have been able these past 2 years to deliver only half of my load because of this crack in my side, which causes the water to leak out all the way back to your house. Because of the crack in my side, you have to do all this extra work, and you don't get full value from your efforts," the pot said. Well, the water bearer felt very sorry for the pot, and in his compassion, he said, "As we return to the house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers alongside the path." Indeed, as they went up the hill, the old cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wild flowers on the side of the path, and this cheered it up some. At the end of the trail, it still felt a little sad because it had leaked out half of its load, and so again apologized to the water bearer for its failure. The water bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path, but not the other? That's because I have always known about the crack in your side. I have always known that as we travel back to the house together, one pot carries water and the other drips a little out along the way. And so I planted flower seeds on your side of the path so that every day while we walk back from the stream, you're watering them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick beautiful flowers to decorate the table. Without you being just the way you are, that beauty would not grace the path or my house. Next time we journey from the stream to the house, may you notice your journey. Though it is along the same path as mine, it is unique. May you notice that you too are the cause of beauty."
Here we are in this very moment, about, I'd say, 70 people here in this room and 63 households on Zoom. Let's pause for a moment of prayer and meditation. Find a comfortable seat. Feel yourself grounded wherever you are and connected to those around you. Let's take a deep breath as we notice those connections. Spirit of life and love, spirit of mystery and wonder. We gather together knowing that we need connection and support. Consider things of worth together and give thanks together for all our blessings. We also come together, all of us, with a specific combination of needs, challenges, and sorrows. Some of us are grieving a loss. Some of us are struggling with addiction, depression, or other mental health concerns. Some of our bodies are ailing and hurting, healing and recovering. Some of us are trying to build or repair relationships. Some of us are trying to heal from past trauma. Wherever we find ourselves today, may we find within ourselves and within this community more strength, more hope, and more perseverance to face what is in front of us. This morning, we lift up the following people into light and love. Diana Smith, as she recovers from a fall and possible concussion, and the family of Jean Alm, a former member of this church who recently passed away at the age of 90. And now into this silence and out of it, name your beloved. Knowing that together we can hold these things. May it be so, and make it so. Amen.
The congregation is sustained by the generosity of the people who call this place home. By giving to this morning's offering, you are giving life to the programs and services that help form and grow this community. We will pass the baskets now. You can also donate on the WBUUC webpage, send a check or leave a check in the locked box outside of the front office, or use the text to give option in your order of service or in the Zoom chat box. Whichever way you give, thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we live together.
Our reading today is from Traveling Mercies by Anne Lamott. I think my son and I have missed church 10 times in 12 years. Our pastor Veronica told us this story just the other day. When she was 7, her best friend got lost one day. The little girl ran up and down the streets of the big town where they lived, but she couldn't find a single landmark. She was very frightened. Finally, a policeman stopped to help her. He put her in the passenger seat of his car, and they drove around until she finally saw the church. She pointed it out to the policeman, and then she told him firmly, "You can let me out now. This is my church, and I can always find my way home from here." And that is why I stayed so close to mine, because no matter how bad I am feeling, how lost or lonely or frightened, when I see the faces of the people at my church and hear their tawny voices, I can always find my way home.
Today we're starting this month's worship and learning theme, Belonging, the Practice of Finding Center, with reflections about home. I'm defining home as a place where we feel whole, affirmed, and grounded. Using wording from the theme, it's a place where we feel a sense of belonging and where we can find our center or re-find our center. Well, home in this sense is complicated. For some of us, it literally is where we live or used to live. For others, maybe some or even all of the homes we've lived in have never felt like places where we were whole and affirmed and grounded. Home can be a warm cocoon of love. It can be a nest of vipers and anything between. And there are such a wide variety of places, and actually non-places, where we can feel whole, affirmed, and grounded. These include places in nature, special buildings, and non-places like relationships. Some of these are near and often visited, some distant, seldom visited. Well, I've been thinking about home a lot these past 3 weeks as I ventured far from home on a once-in-a-lifetime trip with my wife, daughter, son-in-law, and their 2 children, 4 years old and 11 months old. My son-in-law is a UU minister, and he received a significant grant to fund a sabbatical focused on exploring his family roots, his spiritual roots, and his roots in Indiana where they live. The grant helped him and his mother travel to Germany in early February, to explore where his mother's ancestors lived. The plan was for him to meet our daughter and their 2 kids in Transylvania, where he would, along with them, then explore his spiritual roots, the Unitarian side of his spiritual roots. To which my daughter said, "No way am I flying alone to Romania with a 4-year-old and an 11-month-old. So into the picture come the maternal grandparents. We could fly with them. We could travel with them. The grant could mostly pay for that. Lucky, lucky, lucky. So I was struck on this trip that one of my homes, one of the places where I feel whole, affirmed, and grounded, is the beautiful, fertile, hard soil of Transylvania. I've been fortunate to travel there several times, starting with the first visit with members of the Appleton congregation I served in 2000. We were just beginning a partner church relationship with the church in Deva, Transylvania. So I've experienced the depth of our Unitarian roots there, and much of this depth is painful. After a fast and remarkable birth of the movement there in the mid-1500s, they've had wave after wave, century after century of oppression, war, colonization, and often poverty. This experience, so very different from our experience as American UUs, has left scars and continued scarring, which is a palpable, heartbreaking presence. So that I feel a sense of home in Transylvania is surprising. I have no known ancestor roots there. The look, feel, and even the theology of the Unitarian churches and their worship services is more different than like ours, I think. And honestly, I'm always taken aback when I see in the church or the churchyard a monument to the fallen from the church in the world wars and realize, oh yeah, they fought on Germany's side. They fought against us. There were understandable and complicated reasons for that, but bottom line, they fought for Hitler. Despite all of this, I do find it moving and illuminating to experience the deepest ongoing roots of our Unitarian faith in the world. even when I am in a service and I only understand like 2 or 3 words in the whole thing. It does help me understand this UU faith better. But it's not all these things that make Transylvania feel like a home to me. This is what I realized on this trip. I realized that what makes it feel like a home are the relationships that I have with the people in the congregations there. My life interwoven with theirs in so many beautiful ways. I haven't seen any of them for 5 years, and none of us is good at keeping in touch. But we were able to pick up right where we left off, it felt like. And so on this trip, we saw Mathilde and Anna, 2 of the first 3 Transylvanians we met back in 1999 when they came to Appleton, and my daughter was in 2nd grade. Mathilde's husband, Anna's father, Latsi, was the minister in Deva at the time, Appleton's partner, larger than life person, an utter joy to be with. A few years later, he left the Deva church for another congregation, and a few years after that, dropped out of a heart attack at the age of 36. And that after a particularly contentious meeting with local government authorities, he was fighting fruitlessly, as it turned out, for church property seized by the communist government without payment to be returned to the church. So we journeyed with Mathilde through some of that grief. Anna was a baby when we met her in 1999. She's now a senior in college. We saw Zoli, Latsi's successor in Deva. Zoli stayed there for 20 years, a person who I consider to be a brother. We saw his former wife and their son, now in college. We journeyed with Zoli through the heartbreak of that divorce. We saw Zoli's second wife, Yulia, and their 2-year-old child. I had the great honor of co-officiating at their wedding 5 years ago with Zoli's brother, a Unitarian minister as well. We saw members of the Deva Church, including Marta and her family, who had come to stay with us in Appleton. Marta's first comment when she saw me, will stay with me for a while, because it was, "You got old." We saw Marta's daughter, Orshi, who was a toddler when I first met her and is now getting a PhD in logistics in the UK. We saw Erzsébet, Marta's mother, who has long been the matriarch and the kind of the driving force of the Deva Church, who, unlike me, I guess, doesn't seem to age. We saw the Deva building, which was dedicated in 2008. My daughter and I were part of a delegation from Appleton that joined in that celebration. We and our fellow travelers got to help with the final preparations, including me cleaning the bathroom, which through the construction process was incredibly grungy, and my daughter working with women from Appleton and in the church there to weave together, to stitch together embroideries, traditional Hungarian embroideries given from all the congregations in Transylvania. And you can see a picture of the wall of those embroideries still there today. In the Deva Church, we also saw embroidered hymnal covers embroidered by members of the Appleton Church as a gift, a compliment to traditional Hungarian embroidery hymnal covers that they gave us. I missed Laszlo, the longtime lay president of the Deva Church, who died about a year ago at the age of 93. Jillian, the lay president of those churches, lifetime assignment, so big difference. His reading glasses still grace his usual spot in the front pew. For many decades, he was a faithful and loving, beloved leader of that church. And we saw Robert and his beautiful family. Robert is also like a brother to me. His wife, Reka, made the stole for me. We attended a church in Robert's church in the village of Meister, where incredibly one of the 9 founders of the Appleton congregation was married to the minister back in the 1920s and 30s. This photo shows us with some of the members of the church after the service. So on this visit, a few Roger Bocces slipped in. Bocce is an affectionate term for old men. So who'd have guessed when I first traveled to Transylvania in 2000 at the age of 36 that I would one day be Roger Bocce? Maybe a home is also a sort of stick that measures our life and the changes that we undergo. I belong to these cherished friends in Transylvania. They belong to me. We are each other's. I've also realized that this home where I feel affirmed and grounded and whole doesn't need frequent trips to make it happen. None of us, them especially, can afford to travel this far very often. I don't want to have that kind of carbon footprint anyway. So while occasional visits, maybe every 5 or 10 years, are important, I also realize that this home is located right here in my heart and in my memories. I carry them wherever I am, including today in this space. I feel them. That Transylvanian home for me actually is boundless. So this is one of those sermons where I'm sharing my journey in the hope that it helps you think about your own journey. Where is it that you feel whole, affirmed, grounded? Where do you feel a sense of belonging that helps you find center? Where is it, in the words from our closing hymn we'll do in a little bit, that you can answer yes to life, to truth, to love? Are these homes for you places, or maybe something else? Let's take a moment of silence. I invite you each to picture one of these homes for you that is an important touchstone. And then a second question. When you are feeling lost, when you're not feeling whole, affirmed, grounded, what helps you find your way home? I invite you to picture something that helps you find your way home in silence for a moment. For me, it helps me find home, especially when I'm feeling lost, to have some set aside time each day for centering. During the centering time, I can contemplate, name, appreciate what's most important in my life, including life-giving friendships. I need this time and space so that I am attentive to what helps me feel whole, affirmed, and grounded, what helps me find home. It helps me, for example, picture in my mind these beloveds in Transylvania. It reminds me that they are right here in my heart. I suspect that as you thought about places and non-places where you feel home or find a way home, some of you thought about this church. I hope for many of you, this place does feel like a home, or at least, as in the story from Anne Lamott, it feels like a place which helps you find your way home. I invite you this month to reflect more on what this church means to you. I'll close today with a cherished prayer from that many Transylvanian Unitarians have in their homes. It's called the Seke Aldash or Hatsi Aldash. It's a house prayer, and embroideries of this prayer like this one, grace the walls of many homes. So I'll share this, first in very imperfect Hungarian, and then in English. Hol hit at szeretet, hol szeretet at béke, hol béke at áldás, hol áldás at Isten, hol Isten at szükség nincsen. Where there is faith, there is love. Where there is love, there is peace. Where there is peace, there is blessing. Where there is blessing, there is God. Where there is God, there is no need. Our closing hymn today is number 6 in the large gray hymnal, Just as Long as I Have Breath. I invite you to stand in body or in spirit, wherever you are, and join in singing. And so may each of us find our ways to places of love, of peace, of blessing. May we find our ways home. Go in peace.